Welcome to the FITnatics. Today's episode is extra special because I'm joined by someone who's been with me for over a decade through workouts, life changes, mindset shifts, and everything in between. Nancy is not only a devoted MindFit client, but she's a powerful example of how showing up for yourself over time can truly transform your life, inside and out. Welcome, Nancy.
Hi, Susie.
How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Great. Very good. I'm excited to get started. Let's go ahead and get into it. And if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your background with us.
I'm a retired educator. I have a lot of education. I have a bachelor's degree in vocal music. I have 30 hours of upper division mathematics. I have a master's degree and a doctorate in education. But I'm retired now. I taught kindergarten through high school. I've taught vocal music, science, and mathematics. I had two great parents named Judy and Gus. Judy was a choral director, and my dad was a petroleum geologist. I have a sister named Mary and a son named David. Even though I'm retired, currently I direct 2 community choirs and a community handbell group, and my faith is very important to me. I read the Bible every day. I pray many times a day. I worship every Sunday, and I'm always looking for ways to thank my Lord for his grace and mercy to me.
Amazing. Amazing. How do you make it all happen, Nancy? Just from a mindset perspective, how do you start your day?
I start my day the night before. I think about if I have an activity that I'm going to have to be present for, like this. I plan when I'm going to get up. So then I plan when I'm going to go to bed to make sure I get at least 7 hours of sleep. I use the Kindle app a lot. So I have 2 meditations in my Kindle app that I read when I first wake up. And then I get up and I do exercise. I go out. What I like to do is walk for about an hour. And then I come in and I have some exercises I do. And I eat my breakfast to get ready.
Very regimented. Sounds like a routine, habits. And we'll talk a little bit about that later, about the importance of routine and habit. So take me back to 10 years ago, a decade. What brought you to first start working with me or exploring the idea of working with a trainer?
I retired in 2013. I retired as a full-time educator. When I lived in the small town of Beeville, where I was working, for a while I was a member of I think Anytime Fitness, one of the fitness places. Mostly I use the cardio machines. But I saw people in there working with trainers, and I thought when I'm retired, I'd like to work with one. I would have a little more flexibility in my life and my schedule. And then I also had 2 friends, as you know, who are a little older than me, actually a decade older than me. And they were friends, and coincidentally, they both got breast cancer at about the same time. One of them was extremely active and healthy, and the other one was very sedentary. The active one is now 86-year-old, still healthy, still very active. The other one, unfortunately, passed away pretty quickly after her diagnosis. And so that to me said, yes, I need to stay healthy. And then when I came to Del Webb, you were doing classes there, and you also had a class session where you showed all the machines that they had and how to use them. And so I contacted you and said, let's try it out. And here we are.
Great, great. Well, that being the case, how do you feel that your mindset has evolved with regard to health and fitness over the years?
Oh, my mindset has definitely evolved because, like I told you, I graduated from high school in 1971, and Title IX came in effect in 1972. In the small town I lived in Louisiana, we had PE every day for 4 years. It was a graduation requirement, but it was what I call sports based. So it'd be 6 weeks of basketball, 6 weeks of volleyball. There were not. I think maybe girls had a tennis team. I don't think we had a competitive girls thing because that just wasn't going on. It's the town I was in South Louisiana. And I did not like PE. And part of it, I realize now, was there was no warm-up preparation. I can remember in the spring, it was the day we had to run the mile. There was no prepping that we didn't like run short distances and then run the mile. We all died on one day where we ran the mile. And so I did not like PE, did not like exercise. I have always been an active person. I was thinking today, when I was in college, I had my bicycle. I rode my bike from the dorm to the classroom because I felt it was faster. So I was, that's an active thing, but it was a purpose. And then, as you know, I'm a reader. I read a lot. I read a lot of publications, books, magazines, newspaper. And, research has come out since the 70s, more research about how healthy it is to stay moving. And so when I was in my 40s and was working on my master's degree, I realized I was sitting all the time. And so that's when I started doing my walk, when I would walk in the backyard. And then when I felt confident enough, I'd get up early, like 5 a.m. before my young son got up, before I had to go to work. And I started walking. And so since then, it's been at least 30 years that I've done that. And I know I feel better. So I feel better. I still read a lot. So sometimes I'll read about something that will make me try another exercise or a supplement or something. And so, as you know, I always say I'm not an athlete. And I use that word as meaning I don't play an organized sport. But fitness, I think, is really important. And I believe, at least when I was assistant superintendent in Beeville School District before I retired, the PE had changed a lot to where it was more fitness based, with exercises and stretching and things like that.
I love that you shared with us regarding, just the early mindset in terms of fitness and PE and health. And I'm right there with you. I'm not a runner. I don't like to run. So that day that we all had to run the mile was definitely a rough day, but you're right. There was no lead up to the mile like we would, think today, and how we progress our workouts together. But with that being said, do you feel that mindset still remains with, a lot of your friends or colleagues in terms of that approach to fitness, that it was kind of females, that it was not really something that was done, or it wasn't as popular, or it wasn't really shown, as you say, through the research, the evidence wasn't there that was something that we needed to do in terms of living a long, healthy life?
I think some of the mindset has changed. And, really, back then, 50 years ago, you didn't see a lot of men either just doing fitness type things like they do now. And so, I mean, if you were in the military, you did it because that was required, but it was just, over time, the jogging and the walking and the 5K runs and stuff, that's come about since then. So there has been some change, I think, overall for everybody. But I do live in a retirement community where there are a lot of people older than me, and we have classes. They're not very well attended here. And I think, again, it's probably because their mindset hasn't changed. And it's hard to start. I have a friend that, I suggest just go down to the end of the driveway and back every day, or do 5 squats, and do it consistently, and then you'll get better. But those first few days are hard because you're having to give up something. Could be watching TV, sitting and reading a book. Maybe not a lot of time, but have to give up something to start something else. And that kind of change, I think, is hard for everybody, but especially for people who weren't raised with fitness in mind.
Mm-hmm. You're right. That's a very important part of when it comes to changing anything in your life, whether it's your mindset, your health, your habits. For something to change, something has to change. And that's the reality of it. And I think that, at times that component of change can be very hard for individuals. And I think that for you, what you shared in terms of the research, information, getting that evidence-based research, I think maybe not only motivated you, but it gave you something to kind of stand on in terms of like, there's a purpose for this. I'm just not doing this and seeing what happens. I know for a fact that this is going to help me in the long run. And I think that there are a lot of individuals like ourselves, high achieving women, high achievers in general, that utilize that evidence-based research to help them propel in life, not just in health and wellness, but in their professions and their careers. So there's something to be said about that research that comes out, and I do believe it's a motivator. It can help us, but as you said, once you get the habit started, and that's my question to you, what keeps you on track?
Well, as you already commented on when I gave my introduction, I am very much a routine person. And so for me, people have said for a long, long time, I'm very self-motivated. And I am. I don't do everything right. No, nobody does. In fact, I know I do a lot of things wrong, but once I have a routine, like I had said, my mornings start out pretty much the same, with a little variation a couple of days a week, but pretty much the same. And so I know I'm going to get up and do that, and I feel better. Like this week, as you know, I had some time with my son, and between the rain and where we were and stuff, I did not have my usual routine. I tried to do a little bit of it, but it just wasn't possible to do what I normally do. And I made it. I was fine, but I didn't feel as good as I usually do. So that tells me get going and do the routine, because it helps you. So I know not everybody is like me. I mean, like I said, I've had a lot of people tell me how self-motivated I am, kind of like a criticism, like, oh, you're so self-motivated. But it is what it is. That's how I am.
Okay. Well, then let's dig a little deeper in that, because I think there's a lot to learn from someone who is, considered self-motivated. When the motivation's not there, and this is probably what everyone wants to know, when the motivation's not there, Nancy, what do you do when you get off track, when you had a weekend, like you said, that was not your norm, when your schedule is different? How do you get back on track? Because, as we know, of course, everyone gets excited when they're going to start a new routine, a new thing. It can be very fun to get started, but then after the first 7 to 14 days, things start not being as exciting anymore, and we kind of get a little bored, and then we get off track. So for someone who is so self-motivated, as you said, no one's perfect. So when those times come along, how do you recover?
Well, mainly it is a mindset thing. I know, like I said, I feel better when I have my routine, when I get up and I have that exercise first and then the breakfast. And when I start my day with my prayers and meditations. So if I get off, I will remind myself how much better I will feel if I get back to that routine. And so I do it pretty quickly. Now, I start a lot of things. I'm a starter. I go try things, and if they are not a benefit to me, then I don't do them anymore. So that there is that. I mean, there's going to be things you're not going to like. We talked about the swimming. There's aspects of the swimming with the getting wet and the towel. Even though I got plenty wet this morning walking in the humidity, there's just something about the swimming that doesn't make me keep doing it. I want to do something else. So that, again, that's just me. I'm going to do something. If it's not going to work out the way I like it, then I will try to do something else. But it mainly is because I feel better when I stay with my routine and I do my exercise. That gets me back on track.
How do you know when something doesn't work out? How do you know when it is time to stop or make a shift or change things up?
I am a very reflective person. So I think about it, and I'm trying to think of something I've given up quickly. I don't give most things up that I start quickly. As you know, I started a book club here, and I'm going to conclude it, at least for now, next month. Well, that was 2 years, and it's been it's been a tough 2 years because it's a lot of work and sometimes only one other person shows up. Um, so I kept going with that. I can't really think of something that I started and stopped right away. I think you have to you have to commit to something and say, I'm going to try that for however long you want to try it. And then you have to reflect and say, there's an economic term, the cost benefit analysis. Is the cost not just in money? The book club didn't cost me really any money except for buying the book. It's the cost of my time, my effort, my mental stability. Is it worth what I'm getting? And so I think about that, not often, but when I'm starting something, is what I'm getting out of this worth the cost of my time and what I could be doing otherwise? And I kind of do a balance thing, do the new thing or read my book by myself and home. Okay, so which one I rather do, and whichever one comes out higher, well, then that's the one I.
And I'll add to that, Nancy, and with this specific example with the book club, I know that as a result, it's not, as you said, the option is, the book club that you're hosting, or read the book by yourself. But I think that this also opens you up to explore other options. And now, if I'm not mistaken, you are attending a different book club in the area and here in San Antonio. So that is new for you, and that I understand you're enjoying.
Yes, I went to one session it's at one of the public library branches here in San Antonio. I went to one session last month, and I found it on the San Antonio Library has a good website. And then while I was there, I was able to see they had a bulletin board of their other activities, and they had another book club. So I'm going to also right now, this Saturday is one of them, and then the new one I haven't been to before is the following Saturday. And they're not my neighborhood library. I have to drive about 20 minutes. My neighborhood library didn't have one that worked for me. So again, I'm trying it out. I enjoyed the first time. I don't think I'll do both book clubs. That's a lot. That's a big commitment to get that many books read and then drive over there but right now I'm not rehearsing the choirs and handbells, so I have time to do some other things. And again, that will be my mindset, is going over there and having this discussion with the books that are selected. Is it enjoyable enough for me to keep doing it? But I'm going to do it probably through the summer. And then things get hectic with the rehearsals.
So, as you said, someone who is obviously a high performer, high achiever, and at this point you're retired. And I, obviously working with you for over a decade, I know your schedule, I know the things that you're involved with. And I would have to say that, in working with women that are still in their career, you are just as active as, if not more than them. So my question to you is, because that seems to be how do you balance it all? When is enough enough? When do you draw the line and say, okay, this is, I know it's important to stay active. I know it's important to exercise. I know, certain things in life are important to me. When do you draw the line in terms of balancing it all so you don't burn out?
I have to remember, why am I doing it? What is my purpose? Kind of like with the answer, what is my purpose? I mean, it's hot right now in South Texas, even at 6 and 7 a.m. I'm sweating a lot. But my purpose is not to live longer, but to live as healthy alive as I can. And that I do feel better, and thank goodness for air conditioning, because then I can come in and cool off. And the same thing with the choirs. Why am I doing it? Okay, God gave me a gift. He gave me the resources to be trained in the gift, and I like the people, I like the music, so okay, I'm gonna keep doing it. So I kind of I'm very reflective, so I think about those things. But also talking to you, and you asking me some questions helps me to clarify my position if I'm going to keep doing something.
I agree. I think that it's always a benefit to have a sounding board, who's someone that you feel as though is not one side or the other, but can take in what you're giving and give you some other things to think about and consider in terms of what works best for you and your path, your goals, your journey. I've always felt that that's a tool, a very like a strong tool for anybody at any point in their lives, to have someone in their lives that can give them that type of support.
I've been through counseling sessions at various times in my life, which may or may not have been helpful. But I like one of your statements is action creates clarity, and yes, talk about stuff, but then take an act. What are you going to do about it? Take an action, and that really does help. Sitting around thinking about it, yes, I do that, but then I have to make an action, and that helps to clarify what I'm doing. I'm trying to think of what I wrote down one of your other statements. I'm probably not going to find it now. So work on what you can, not what you can't. So again, what can I do? If when I had my knee surgery, my hip surgery, there were some limitations. Okay, I can't do that, but what can I work on? And that those little things that you say like that are big things. They help me work through issues. They change my mindset.
What would you say to someone who's interested? Excuse me. What would you say to someone who's hesitant in investing in their health?
Try something, and think about what is causing the hesitancy. Is it you don't like to do exercise? Find something that you do like to do. Like I told you, I've discovered the senior citizen centers in San Antonio have a ton of activities. I'm doing some of their Zumba and their line dancing, but they've got all kinds of things. If walking is not your thing, how about an aquatic exercise or one of the machines? There's lots of different cardiac machines, as you know. And again, you're going to have to give up something to do it. It's time, mainly time. But what are you doing with that time? To do the dance thing I've been starting the last couple of months, I could be relaxing and reading, which is very enjoyable. But I find out that I have actually more energy when I go out and be active than if I'm not. So I would say find something and try it and see how you feel. I think everyone will feel better if they give it at least a couple of weeks.
Great advice, Nancy. It always comes back. For me, being a MindFit coach and focusing on mindset and fitness combined, I feel that is, something for everyone, because as you've expressed to us, with the choirs, with the book club, I know you do you extensive traveling. In order to do all the things, you have to be healthy. You have to be mobile. You have to be flexible. You just shared with me just a couple of days ago, you were at a ranch, riding horses. And we know, and if you don't, that riding horses, requires a lot of flexibility, mobility, core strength, leg strength, upper body, everything. So I feel as though making sure that those two things stay at some level consistent. As you said, it doesn't have to be necessarily, in the gym, in 3 hours, a day, but finding time for strength training, integrating things that work for you for the time that you have available, I feel, as you said, is vital. At this point in our lives, and I'm 52 years old, I feel it is vital. It's not a luxury. I feel in order to, as you said, not necessarily to live long, but to have a certain quality of life, it is vital.
Well, and there's that. It's been around for quite a while. The thing about if you're on an airplane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you help others. You're not going to be able to help others or even help yourself if you don't take care of yourself. And there's just so many. I feel like there are so many options. It's not expensive to get into an exercise routine. There's lots of options. So expense should not be a problem. You should be doable. You just have to decide, I'm going to do this for myself. And like I said, you've got to give it at least a couple of weeks of consistent, one time 1 week and one time the next is probably not going to do it. But something consistent, walking back and forth to the mailbox every day for 2 weeks and see how you feel.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, Nancy, it's time for a quick fire round here. All right.
Okay.
Plank or squat?
Squat.
Foam roller, friend or foe?
Friend.
Resistance bands or dumbbells?
Dumbbells.
Don't sound so excited. Let's see.
All of these. Some of these are not very high on the list. So I have to see which is less low.
Gotcha. Your favorite health and wellness app?
Okay, I'm gonna say my affirmations app. When we talked about this before, I was thinking of something else, but I have this affirmations app that's entitled "I Am," and you can set it up to send you little messages how often you want. But it's surprising how it helps. It helps me to get my mindset. It just offers a variety of things, so I like it.
Great. One word that keeps you going?
Jesus.
Journaling or meditation?
So I'm sorry, I have to comment on some of these. Okay, so they're both again, which is less low. I like both of them. I do both of them. I did. I was meditating yesterday, and as you know, I've recently gotten a 1 line a day journal, and I've been doing it since January. Sometimes I have to I forget and then have to do 2 days in a row, but they're kind of equal. That just depends on the date. But I've tried to use the journal as a gratitude journal. That's not what it's called. It's a line a day journal. And that really helps to think of the minor thing, of the small things. Like, thank you, God, that air conditioning was invented. Something like that. Just things we don't think about thinking, the journal helps. I know these are supposed to be one word. Sorry, can't do it.
No problem. No problem. What's the best advice you've received?
The best advice I've received, and I also try to give, is that it's all going to work out okay.
Excellent. Love that. Love that. All righty, Nancy, I want to definitely thank you. You've been such an inspiration and a very important part of the Q Movements community. Thank you for being open, committed, and being you. Thank you, Nancy.
Well, thank you, Susie. I hope that our conversation helped someone. And I'm very, very thankful to you. You've gotten me through not just my fitness, but as you know, a couple of years with my late husband Stump, and his illness. The mindset and just having you as a friend has really been helpful to me. So I thank you as well.
Thank you, Nancy. And for everyone, thank you for joining us today at the FITnatics. Until next time, keep moving.